Hi, this is Ron Darling.
This is Skip Lockwood.
Hi, I'm Ron Swoboda of the 69 New York Mets, and you're listening to Mets Musings with Gary Mack.
Now it's time for some New York Mets baseball talk. Here's Gary Mack bringing you the latest news and analysis from Mets Nation and the world of baseball on another edition of Mets Musings.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Mets Musings. Well, it was a terrible homestand, I guess it's safe to say. 3-7 for the Metsies. Not good at all. They looked awful in that homestand. But, you know, hope springs eternal as they go on the road and sweep the Nationals. More on that in a second. But 3-7 on the homestand, but we saw the emergence of Mark Vientos and the demotion of Brett Beatty and a meltdown by Jorge Lopez, who is no longer with the team. He got thrown out of a game, got upset with the umpire as he came off the field, threw his glove over the netting and into the crowd, made some comments after the game about being on the worst team in baseball. He then walked that back a little bit by saying he meant he was the worst teammate on a baseball team, or so he says. Then he claimed about the translation problem, English being his second language and everything. And some articles make the point that that's why the some of these players still use a translator because they don't want to be misquoted and get into trouble. And he did. Well, the Mets did not like his attitude anyway, and moved quickly and asked him to pack his bags, and he is no longer with the Mets. And as we said, the Mets hit the road to D.C. Then after that 3-7 homestand, they made a couple of minor moves, and really it has almost been paying off for the team. They released Omar Narvaez and traded with the Yankees, I should say, for a catcher, Luis Torrens, who has been torrid since he joined the Mets. He had a 2-home-run game yesterday as Luis Severino won the third game of the series in a spectacular fashion, pitched a gem of a game, and the Mets walked away as winners. They played pretty well the whole series. Their offense came alive. Oh, by the way, I mentioned that Brett Beatty was sent down, and they brought up Jose Iglesias to be a middle infielder, but he's been playing every day at second, and he's been hitting too. And it seemed that the addition of these two guys might have sparked something in this ball club. How long it would last, your guess is as good as mine. But for 3 days in Washington, they all played very well and swept the Nationals, who still remain a half game ahead of the Mets in the standings. But clearly, the Mets were the better team in this series. Whether or not that will last, well, that's always the hope. That's always the dream, I guess you might say. But we will have to wait and see on that. But for 3 days, the Mets looked really good. And what was good about it was that it was coming off of that terrible homestand that they looked awful. Just played awful baseball. The bullpen was terrible. They had, I can't tell you how many leads they had in these games and blew them in the ninth inning or the eighth inning, and then blew the game in the 10th. I mean, they probably should have beat Arizona 3 to 4 games instead of splitting 2 out of 2. The Dodgers, I think memory serves, they should have been at least won one of those games, and of course they did win one of the games against the Giants. Probably should have won 2, but the bullpen just blew it. What can you say? So hopefully now they'll get that straightened out. This management team is not afraid to make moves, and Mendoza's not afraid to make the moves that he thinks going to improve his ball club, and that's something to be looked at and applauded as the season goes on. But they're going to have to make a decision soon because July is right around the corner. So these guys are going to have a couple of weeks to plead their case, if you will, and prove that they should belong on this team and that they can win here. Otherwise, we're going to see a sell-off again. And, there's going to be some guys go this time that are very popular that people are not going to be happy with. But, look, you got to try to improve your team. I do apologize again for the backdrop. I'm working on some stuff, so hopefully we'll get that cleaned up, or at least maybe I'll get a green screen in here or something so you won't have to see it. But I apologize for today. I wanted to get his show out. Okay, so now what happens? Well, they swept the Nationals and got on a plane and headed to England. All right, yeah, the Mets heading across the pond and traveling with the full contingent of players. No starting pitchers will be left behind, Mendoza said, and a 3-man taxi squad of third baseman Brett Beatty, catcher Joe Hudson, and reliever Cole Sulser will be joining the team. New York will be able to activate one of the position players from the taxi squad to be a 27th man on the roster, but they have not decided yet who that will be. Left-handers Sean Manaea and Jose Quintana will be the starting pitchers for the games on Saturday and Sunday for the New York Mets. The Phillies will be throwing Ranger Suarez, and Taijuan Walker will be the Phillies pitchers, as I said. Game 1 is at 1:10 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday on Fox. The first pitch for Game 2 is slated for 10:10 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday and will air on ESPN. Both games can be watched on MLB TV. Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park is where the action will take place. It's a sporting complex that was initially built for the 2012 Summer Olympics. The complex includes what is now known as London Stadium, a multi-use facility that hosts concerts and sporting events. Currently the home of West Ham United FC of England's Premier League, London Stadium has been reconfigured to host this weekend's baseball games. Though London Stadium can hold up to 80,000 fans for concerts, its baseball configuration allows for a capacity closer to 55 to 60,000 range, and I believe it is sold out. We have a lot of fans in England, so it you know it's going to be fun to see all the British Met fans over there going seeing their team in person for the first time. So that is a very, very big deal. And news on the injury front: Francisco Alvarez is rehabbing. He's got a minor league stint going, and it's going pretty good. He's been hitting pretty good. It looks like his throwing is pretty good, so it may not be long before Francisco rejoins the team. Edwin Diaz is scheduled to start a rehab, I think this weekend or next week in Brooklyn. So look for that if you're in Brooklyn. I believe it's the Cyclones are home now. It may be this weekend. And so look for that if you're Cyclone fans and want to get to Brooklyn to see Edwin Diaz and see if he's recovered at all. All right, we are going to take a break and come back right after this.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com.
Okay, we are back, and now it's time to go down on the farm. Okay, and this week down on the farm, I thought we'd hit a couple of the guys that aren't like big prospects of people haven't heard of, but could be quietly making their way through the systems. One of the guys is Boston Barrow. He is the organization's 8th round selection from last July. He's thriving at Single A St. Lucie with a .307 batting average. Since May the 9th, one scout who recently saw Barrow compared him to a young Jeff McNeil, given his excellent left-handed bat control and defensive versatility. Barrow, a high school shortstop, has also played second and third base during his fledgling professional career. So there's a guy to watch. Boston Barrow. Luke Ritter is another guy who may not be considered much of a prospect anymore, but he's having a terrific year at the age of 27. He's hit 4 home runs in his past 10 games to improve his season OPS to .871. Ritter, who might have received a call-up last year if not for a late season oblique injury, remains blocked at all the infield positions he plays, first, second, and third, but he'll have to be a consideration if and when that situation changes. So Luke Ritter playing for Syracuse, I believe, keep an eye on him. And a guy we spoke about before, but he's just having a terrific year, Brandon Sproat, a number 13 prospect. He didn't need much time to adjust to the upper minors since Sproat earned a promotion from High A Brooklyn on May 13th. All he's done is go undefeated with a 1.38 ERA over 4 starts, striking out 32% of the batters he's faced. Sproat, who can credit at least some of that success to his continued development of a sweeper, has also cut his walk rate by more than 50% at Binghamton. And finally, outfielder Stanley Consuegra, who fell out of favor with the Mets, out of the Mets' top 30 prospect list, following a not-so-hot season at Brooklyn last year. He's repeating that level at age 23 and has recently caught fire. And over his last 14 games, he's hit .327. He's still young enough at 23 to rebound. So he's doing what he can do to reestablish his standing within the farm system. And the Mets could use that because they really don't have any, top outfield prospects. I mean, Alex Ramirez is another guy we look at from time to time. He's struggling a little bit. Jet Williams has been out a lot most of the season with an injury. So, and he was a shortstop. They been trying to move him to center field and have him play there. And as we said, for Luke Ritter, the infield situation is not good. I mean, first base is blocked right now. Second base, you've got the McNeil and Jose Iglesias currently there, and Luis Angel Acuna. So there's not a lot of place to go there. Ronnie Mauricio will be back next year. He's another one that could play second. Shortstop is Lindor, of course, or Mauricio, or Acuna, or Jet Williams. So there is a blockade, really, at second and short, and even at third, if you think about it, because Vientos now has been playing some terrific ball at the big club. It's going to be tough for Brett Beatty to come back, to be honest, because Vientos has proven that he can play on this level so far. It's a small sample, but he has played very well. He's shown power. He's shown, a lot of consistency. He's been driving in some runs. He's really been playing well, and his defense has been decent. He's never going to be a great third baseman. Well, maybe he could, but he can make himself into a very good one if he concentrates. And so far, he's played well. So that is the blocking there. But let's take a look at the standings in the minor leagues as of last evening. Syracuse is 34-23. They are holding first place in their division. And Binghamton is 26-25. They are 2.5 games back in third place in their division. Brooklyn is 28-25, 3.5 games back, holding down second place in their division, and St. Lucie is in last place at 19-34, and they are 12 games back. So that is the up-to-date minor league report. And as we said, the Mets are in London as we speak. England swings like a pendulum do. Thank you, Roger Miller, for that. And if you don't know what that is, Roger Miller had a song called England Swings, but go check it out. All right, we are going to end it at that. So enjoy the London Series, and then the Mets will come back home. And let's take a look at the schedule and see. Once they come back, they'll have Monday off, and they'll open up a 6-game homestand with the Marlins and the San Diego Padres. And hopefully we'll be able to break that down for you next week. But enjoy the London Series if you are there. Enjoy yourself in England. I know there's a couple of people that I know, including our my former co-partner here at MetsMusings, Barry. He'll be over there. In fact, he's over there already. So maybe we can get to talk to him when he comes back. He can tell us a little bit about the color of the whole thing. All right. So, as I said, that's going to wrap it up for this week's show. Have a great week, and I hope that you'll hit the like and the share button. And all you got to do, and that way you'll always know whenever an episode of Mets Musings is coming on. And do the same on your audio podcast. We are on all of the major podcast suppliers out there, so go check it out. So until next time, remember to keep the faith, stay optimistic, and let's go Mets. And I'm Gary Mack. I'll see you next time on another edition of Mets Musings.